So would you rather have a monkey or a parrot as a pet?
I think a parrot. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
That's a good
always
answer.
had a thing for parrots, like those Brazilian parrots.
Yeah,
They're amazing.
yeah. Would you rather travel to Egypt or South America for vacation?
That's a great question. I'm gonna say Egypt. I've been to South America. I've never been to Egypt, and I think there's just a lot more to see there.
Sounds pretty cool, huh? I've
It
never
does.
been there either.
Yeah.
Would you rather be a presidential advisor or a movie star for a day? Da 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 da.
Humbly, I would say that I already feel like a movie star. So an advisor would probably be better. I always tell people like you have to be the main character in your movie. This is a movie, and you're the main character. So I live my life like that. But being a presidential advisor, I get to impact people.
Yeah. And a day is a long time, a lot of impacting to do. What is the thing or things that you've had to quit in order to become successful?
I certainly had to quit
Thinking it was too
the
big.
person that I was to get here.
being afraid that I was going to make mistakes. I quickly learned that the road to success is paved with failure.
Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Successful Quitters, a podcast that highlights the thing or things individuals have had to quit in order to become successful. And today we have someone very special. He is from San Diego. He's an internationally published cover model. Ooh. He's also now building a 7-figure online fitness business. He's a business mentor and a life coach that helps modern men restore their masculinity as they align themselves with their purpose. That's so powerful. But, guys, just like the song says, he started from the bottom. He's been bankrupt, homeless, suicidal, and now he's here. Welcome, Luis Montoya.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Luis, let's go to your early beginnings. Where were you at, and what was life like at 5 years old?
5 years old. I'm an immigrant from Mexico. So I was raised in a hardworking family, and just like a lot of middle-class families, my parents were always working. So at that age, there was a lot of abandonment that was happening because my parents were working 2 to 3 jobs just to try to maintain the family and put food on our table. So I was raising my baby sister and trying to figure life out at such a young age.
Yeah, what's the difference in age from your sister to yourself?
Yeah, so I've got 3 younger sisters. I've got an older brother as well. An older brother who's 1 year older than me, but 3 younger sisters. Now they're a little older now, but at that time, the oldest of the younger sister, she's 3 years apart. Then it's 2 years. Then it's 4 years.
Oh, okay. So one of them was barely born.
Yeah, barely born.
And you came to the U.S. when you were how old?
2 years old.
2 years old. That's crazy. So you were barely trying to speak Spanish or barely learning to understand Spanish, not talking just yet. And then they bring you into this crazy new culture. When you started school, your first grade, do you think that it was a little bit tougher than other kids?
For me, it was very difficult because the community where I was at, it was mainly Hispanic people. And when I was younger, I had curly blonde hair. So I used to get teased a lot. And all the kids were always like, how come your hair is blonde? How come you look different than us? It was always trying to fit in. So it's very difficult. Just learning the language. Most of the kids already knew how to speak the language. So I was just struggling. I always had a speech problem too. So it was just always trying to fit in. It was very difficult.
Yeah, and it's the story of 90% of immigrants. I migrated when I was 14, but I do have a sister that came when she was 5 and a brother that came when he was 9. So I completely relate and understand how difficult it can be. But the one positive thing about us immigrants is that when we come to this country not knowing anyone and having to protect our siblings and our family members is that we come closer to each other. Are you close to your family?
Absolutely. I love them all.
Yeah, you could expect that. I'm the same way.
My brother's, I always say my brother's my ride or die. He's my best friend. Yeah.
And growing up, who was your hero? Did you have a hero?
My dad. My dad was always my hero. I had a lot of ups and downs through my dad, but this is why I always say that it's very important for men to be leaders, because your goal should always be to be that superhero dad for your children, and also have your wife admire you. You know, if you can be that type of man. We didn't have much, but I always admire how hardworking my dad was.
Yeah. I think that everything is dead once the woman stops admiring the men. Like, that is definitely a thing. And I don't think it's something that people realize very much. So
It all comes down to leadership. You know, how you show up. You know, the male is the head of the household. So I do believe that being a provider, a protector, a leader, and someone who also can create a safe place for the woman, that's what's going to keep the polarity in relationships.
absolutely. And so you went to high school. And how was high school? Were you a good student? Were you a terrible student? Did you enjoy it? Did you keep to yourself? What was it like?
I was always getting in trouble. I am actually lucky I graduated. I actually graduated, believe it or not. I'm actually proud of this because I got my life in order. That was the very first point in my life where I started making changes. I grew up around gangs, drugs. There's a lot of prostitution, a lot of, things that were going around in my neighborhood. So that's the environment where I was. But I was involved in graffiti around gangs and everything. And I just, at that time, I was just trying to find my identity.
Yeah. And how was the relationship with your brother then? Because you guys were only a year apart.
Mm-hmm.
So having a family that surrounded you, that, you know how Hispanic families are more like, oh, you can't do this, no puedes hacer eso, no puedes hacer.
No.
Do you think that kind of helped you be grounded again and again to kind of go back to who you were meant to be?
I struggled a lot with that relationship with my brother since we're so close in age. It was always comparing myself to my older brother, and I felt like I was always the older brother having to protect him. So it did bring us closer in that sense where I felt like I was always protecting him. I had to do it for the family, but we both got into a lot of trouble. We're just trying to find out who we're meant to be in life. But I did have a counselor in high school who changed my life, to be honest with you. I wish I can track him down, but he was the first person to pull me apart from all the gang members. And he was like, Luis, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, I see so much potential in you. You're so creative. You got music skills, art, so much stuff. And I see where you're just trying to fit in, but that's not you. Like, you should really reflect on where you're going in life because those guys are not going to take you anywhere. And he was the first person to actually pull me aside and believe in me. And at that moment, everything changed for me.
How powerful is it that people that are close to kids and that are working at schools are actually the most powerful beings in this planet as of now, that a lot of people are going to public or private schools because they have that strength and that place where they can say, hey, you're worth it. Don't just waste your life away. That's amazing. And from that time, you started thinking about things, but still got in trouble?
Yeah. At that moment, I was actually lucky because I did get kicked out of a couple multiple schools, but I went to a continuation school, and that's where everything changed for me because that's where I found that counselor. And I was really passionate about music, and he was a music teacher. So at that moment, I was like, you know what, I'm going to start pursuing this whole music thing. So I just stopped hanging out with a lot of the guys that I was hanging out with, stopped doing drugs, stopped, just doing bad stuff, and started kind of just tapping into the potential that God was starting to, that it was inside of me.
Yeah, and what kind of music?
Me gusta de todo.
Pero ¿qué hacías ahí?
So,
Was it singing?
yeah, so, no, it was more, so I was really into songwriting, composing, lyrics. Always wanted to be a singer. I'm not a great singer, but that's what it was.
Shower singer.
Shower singer, sí, pero me gusta mucho componer música. I love writing, the music is amazing because music can make you feel so many different emotions, and it's also a timestamp in life, so you can always go back.
Absolutely. And the thing about music and art in general is that I think it can really help you heal. So through writing anything, you can really start processing the things that you've gone through and feel better. I think art in general saved me, so I'm very for it. And then you decided to go to college, or did you not want to go to college?
Yeah, so at that moment, I was just someone who was trying to figure life out. So I tried to go to music college, and I was still hanging out with the wrong crowd and just had bad influences around me. So I ended up dropping out. But I got in a 20-year relationship. You know, what turned out to be a 20-year relationship at this moment. I was dating someone, so just decided to do my 9 to 5 and get into work and try to figure life out. We moved in together. We're young, and that's what happened. I ended up I didn't have my priorities straight, you know?
Wow, 20-year relationship. Wow, that's a lifetime. That's half of a lifetime.
It was a journey, and I'm very thankful for that relationship. It taught me so much. It taught me, now I teach men how to be more masculine, but that relationship taught me everything that I wasn't.
Yeah. So you went into this relationship. It was, did you think at the moment when you moved in together, did you get married?
We didn't.
Well, you didn't.
We didn't.
But did you think this is the love of my life?
I did. I wasn't planning on leaving that relationship or anything like that. But, you know, this is why it's so important to raise your children with good morals and have, you know, faith involved and have Christ in the middle of your relationship. Because when you raise your children like that, they do right by Christ, right? So we didn't have a good example. My parents were always working, and unfortunately, her parents just weren't in the best relationship either. So we're just trying to figure out what love was.
Yeah. What do you think you did wrong?
Everything. I didn't show up as a leader. I wasn't a protector. I was doing a 50-50 relationship, which is literally saving anybody who believes that a 50-50 relationship is acceptable. You're setting yourself up for failure. I don't believe in 50-50s because it changes the dynamics in a relationship.
I'm not saying that he's a man. He's saying it, guys. So I'm agreeing, but
yeah, I say from experience, you know, the man should be the provider. The man should be the leader. And when he does not provide financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and is emotionally intelligent to understand that, then it forces the woman to go into her masculine, protect herself.
Absolutely. And I just want to go back to your relationship because I want to understand how strong it was for you that it made you change. Because a lot of times what happens as women is that we find a guy and then we say we're fixers, right? We say, you know what? He could be great. He has potential, as if we're just buying a flip, right? He has potential. So later on, he can be fixed and I'm going to fix him. And that is not how life works. You have to accept who the person is and understand that they are who they are. So in order for someone to change, so much has to happen. So what is the hardest thing that you went through within that relationship that made you say, I need to change?
Yeah, absolutely. So we lost a child.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was pregnant. And when that happened, that I was overweight, I was in a place where I can financially provide for her. And it made me realize that I was not the man that I needed to be at that moment. Unfortunately, we ended up losing the child. She went through a miscarriage. She was about 5 months in, and that moment, the loss of that child, because we both wanted it, and that's the moment that I decided to change my life. When we lost that child, I hit rock bottom. She hit rock bottom, and we just didn't know how to talk about it or anything like that. We kept ignoring the conversation. That led to resentment. That also led to a toxic relationship because there was no communication. And she had to protect herself because I wasn't there as a protector.
Yeah, for sure. And how long after that did you guys parted ways?
Maybe 3 years. 3 years. It was on and off. That relationship was just on and off. There was a lot of soul attachments there, and we tried to make it work. But, you know, after I lost the child and, you know, we ended the relationship, I lost everything. I hit rock bottom. It turned into a toxic relationship. I lost the finances. I had to declare bankruptcy, lost a child, lost a 20-year relationship. I went homeless. And at that moment, that was the moment where I hit rock bottom. And it's very unfortunate that sometimes we always have to wait to hit rock bottom for us to realize where we messed up. Like, all that could have been avoided if I just would have had a better relationship with God and understand what God is calling me to do in my relationship.
Yeah. Well, sometimes these things happen so that you can be an advocate for certain things, to help other men get through this. With that being said, what if there's a man out there, or a woman in general, if there's anyone out there that's going through those hard moments and just went through a horrible breakup and don't know how to get out of it, what would be your advice?
Absolutely. So when men come to me for fitness advice or relationship advice, I always ask them, I lead everything back to the core. I always ask them, how is your relationship with God? I'm always going to push God because God saved my life. And I tried it my way multiple times and I failed every single time. So my first question is, how is your relationship with God? Most of the time, it's not existing. Then I ask them, how's the relationship at home with your partner? They say it's not good. I say, okay, great. Let's start with God. Let's start with you. Building a relationship with God, build a relationship with yourself so that way your relationship at home can be better.
Yeah. And what do you think was the impact that your choices at that time were on your family, on your parents?
My dad, unfortunately, when we come from immigrant families, a lot of our families are not financially stable to be able to provide for so many kids. I come from a family of 5. So my family was very loving in the sense, but it was a 50-50 relationship as well. So my dad set me up for failure from the start. And I love my dad, but it happened. We see this in Hispanic communities a lot because it's expensive to live here, especially when you don't have any resources. But there was lack of affection that was displayed from my father and my mother. So it was hard for me to be able to understand what a loving relationship is. My dad was abusive verbally to my mom. So those are traits that I started kind of carrying on because that's the example that I had, and it's so important. I think a lot of the root of the problems that relationships have comes from money and lack of faith.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing also, it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So like you said, I came from this background. That's what I'm going to do. But we also have to be conscious that with all the information that's out there, if you choose a path that is wrong and you choose to do the same thing that your parents did and then do not choose to be better, then that's on you. You cannot continue to blame your parents. Just like Luis did, you have to choose better for your future generation. Yeah.
Everything is a choice. Everything is a choice. You get to decide what type of results that you want in life. If you're someone who's not happy with your life, you're not happy with the results that you're getting, you have the choice to change that at any moment in your life, and it starts with personal development. A lot of times when relationships fail, when we're not in alignment with who we are, we blame other people, but it takes a man to look in the mirror and take accountability. And that's something that most men are lacking in today's society, accountability, because I always say it starts with the man and ends with the man because we are the head of the household.
Yeah. And can you go a little in depth with relationship polarity?
Polarity. A lot of people don't understand what polarity is. So polarity to me is understanding gender roles, right? Traditional roles. I do believe that traditional roles are the way to go because it works. It works. It keeps a man in his healed masculine energy and it keeps the woman in her feminine energy, which is natural for her. Now, gender roles, I do believe that the man should be the leader, the provider, the protector, create a safe place, be emotionally intelligent to understand what his woman needs. When he can create safety in this environment, then she can flourish in her femininity. And seeing a woman who is in her feminine is the most beautiful thing because she will give you that king treatment that most men desire. And she'll want to be a homemaker. She'll want to bring peace. She'll be submissive. And a woman cannot submit to a man who is not displaying proper leadership.
Yeah. I mean, if the man is not masculine enough, then the woman has to protect herself. And with that being said, you said, the relationship, the man is the one leading and it's up to the men. But also, I think that women we make the mistake of choosing men that we have to protect. Whenever we come, from places where businesswomen or we're immigrants or in general different backgrounds, sometimes we just choose the men that are not going to protect us or that are going to be masculine, but men that we have to take care of, we have to protect, we have to change, and that is where everything goes wrong.
Well, you also have to understand that it's not necessarily a choice. Sometimes women are forced to be in environments where they have to protect themselves.
For sure.
Whether, they have to go to work, they're forced to go to work, they're forced to do a 50-50 relationship. And they made the choice to attract men who don't know how to lead. But I think it's very important for women to allow themselves to be in a feminine state, and I do believe that any woman, I don't care how hyper masculine she is, she will submit to the right man.
I agree.
Yeah. The thing is, most women have to find that right man, who can outperform them in leadership. But there's a man out there. If that man is in his healed masculine energy, she'll submit because then she'll trust him.
Yeah. But also, we as women have to make sure that we're healing, and that, what you said was so important. We have to allow the right man to take care of us. Yeah. Because if not, we're just not happy. We're protecting ourselves all the time, and it's so difficult. How long should a man take to propose? That's a controversial question.
That's a really good question. Here's the thing. I know every man can agree with me, whether he will admit it publicly or not. We know from the start. When we find the one, we know. We initially know. And if we don't know right at the very first moment, it doesn't take very long for us to understand and be like, that's her. Like, she is the one. So I always say that no less than a year. If a man is leading you on more than a year, I don't think he has the intention of marriage. If he's not talking about marriage within a year, I don't think that man is taking you serious. A lot of the times, we as men, I hate to say this, but we use women for our benefit because we're, comfortable in the relationship and we see values that maybe help us get further in life. But if this man is not talking about marriage within the first year, he's not serious about you.
Yeah. What do you think it has to do also with the fact that some women just play wife rather than just girlfriend, and we give so much that the man is like, okay, well, what am I getting married for? I already have everything.
Do you want that honest answer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to be raw.
Yes.
Okay? We live in a culture where it's pushed to be promiscuous. It's pushed to be sexual. And most women are brainwashed to think that if you don't sleep with a man within the first 3 dates, he's just not going to call you back. This comes back to the lack of healing yourself. If you're someone who doesn't know how to be alone and you're going to sleep with a man who doesn't see any value in you, then you are the one to blame. You have to do the internal work. Now, as a man, we are designed to be chasers, to hunters, right? And if we get the catch shortly after we pursue, there's nothing to look forward to,
What's the point?
That's the point, absolutely.
Yeah, but also, I mean, if you don't want, either men or woman, if you don't like to be with yourself, if you don't want to be by yourself, and you don't like yourself enough to be with yourself, how could other people want to be with you, right? It's crucial. With that being said, how long do you think people should wait after a breakup?
Great question. I don't think there's a timestamp. I don't think that there's a timestamp. I think people should just heal themselves. Now,
should wait.
They should. There should be a period. There should be a period, definitely. But there should be a period where they dive into the shadow work and the healing process. Because what happens is you'll get people that say, I'm taking some time off the dating scene. They take a year, 5 years, whatever the time is. But what do? They lock themselves at home, watch Netflix. They don't do anything. How is that making your life better? Yeah. So someone who's seeking hypnotherapy, shadow work, diving into the word, and understanding what it is that they're calling to learn at this moment, that's someone who's healing. I always say, go back to your past relationships because everything is information. Where do you mess up? Take accountability, learn, be better, do the personal development. So, someone can heal. I think healing is a ongoing journey that never ends. You constantly have to be healing yourself because those triggers will come up. But yeah, you should take some time off. I think, someone who does the work can heal faster in 3 months than someone who takes 5 years off and doesn't do anything, just sits at home and watches Netflix.
Yeah. And also, let's remember that the sooner you break up, if the relationship is not working, the sooner you can get to that place of healing. And the thing is that the more I live, the more I feel like we always know as well when it's the time to break up, when it's time to let go. If you really ask God, if you really listen to your conscience, you're gonna know, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be terrible, horrible, and for a lot of women that are in these situations where they feel like they can't leave these relationships. Same with men. When it's time to go, it doesn't matter what you do. It's still going to end at a certain point. And the longer you hold on to it, the harder it'll be, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything is a decision. Everybody is deserving of love. Everybody deserves a loving relationship where you don't have to beg people to love you right. And if that person is not giving you the type of love that you believe you deserve and you've communicated to that person, it's time to go.
Yeah. I watched one of your videos where you were saying it's important that the woman that you marry puts God first, puts God before your significant other. Why is that important?
Especially for me. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in the fitness industry, the business industry. So I do believe that the enemy resides in that area. So there's a lot of temptation. There's women. There are a lot of the guys that are in business. They smoke, they drink, they do all, they fornicate, they cheat, they do a lot of different stuff. So I do think that a man who is seeking personal development and business is under attack a lot more than just the average man. So for me, it's very important to have the right partner who has a good relationship with God. I need my woman to love me more, to love God more than she loves me. Because if she loves Jesus more than she loves me, every single time that I'm out of character, she's going to go ahead and lead me back to the kingdom. She's going to call me out and she's going to be like, hey, this is out of character. Like, this is not the person you are. It's going to bring awareness. And it's very, very important to have a partner who's equally, walking with faith with you or yoked.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is every woman's thing, but I just think it's so powerful and amazing to picture really being with a man that it's Sunday morning, you just had a coffee and you're full of energy and you get to church, you turn to your left or to your right, there he is, nice, very nice arms, and those arms are lifted praising the Lord. That's, he will be someone that will take care of you, someone that really puts the right priorities in place. And also you definitely can see the blessing within your relationship with that when that happens, right? It's the hardest thing to find, but it's worth the wait.
Absolutely. Every man has his own walk with his faith, but it's so important to have someone who is at least aware and walking in faith. I would say, there's a lot of good men out there. There is, there's a lot of good women out there. You just have to be patient enough to find them and attract them, become who you want to attract. But if you find, ladies, find a man who's walking in his faith, because that man who is walking in faith understands how to love you. This is the type of man who's going to spoil you. He's going to treat you like a queen. He understands how to lead, to provide, to protect, because the word teaches us how to treat women. It says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loves the church. So it is my role, it is my duty to love and protect my wife.
Yeah. What is your way to deal with arguments nowadays? What do you suggest when it comes? Well, I heard that the thing that we don't know whenever we're in a relationship is not how we have to not avoid fighting, but we have to learn how to fight. So what is the proper way to deal with them?
Proper communication. It leads back to the healing. Most people react rather than respond. And I think as a man, it is very important for us to be stoic and we can't be moved. When you match energy, a lot of times, your woman, she's a lot more emotionally driven than you are. And if you're matching that energy, she's yelling, she's upset, and you match that energy, it's just a ticking time bomb, you know? So I think it's very important for people, especially like men and even women too, to just sit down and communicate in a loving way. Like you can resolve anything by communicating properly. But if you are able to respond rather than react, you can come into an agreement. Then you can decide if you can compromise or you can fix the problem or if it's time to go.
Yeah. And a lot of times for us too, it's like we want to react. We want the fight. But what happens with that is that we forget about compassion. And we also forget that we're on the same team. It's not me against you. It's like we're together trying to figure this out against the world and trying to make it together. So take a deep breath and really think about what this person means to you and why you started being with them in the first place.
You have to think about long term. There's nothing worse than being in a relationship and going to bed upset at your partner. That is the worst feeling. You know, I always tell people, like, if it's not worth the argument, if it's not worth, you know, you being upset, if it's not going to matter next week, why not fix it? Just pick up the phone, go have that conversation, fix it.
Yeah. What's a good technique for men to reignite passion within a relationship?
Take initiative, be creative, be assertive, have a backbone, understand what your woman is calling you to do. Your woman will tell you exactly when the relationship is going downhill. You know, when she starts arguing about certain little things, she starts giving you a little bit of, just a little bit of pullback. It's usually because something is wrong. I always say date night is super important. Always, always, always try to schedule at least one date night per week if possible. Get dressed up. I don't care if you're married, you know. Do the things that made you attractive in the very beginning when you met her, because that's the man that she was attracted to. Most people get comfortable when they get the girl, when they marry the girl, and they stop doing all the stuff that made them successful. So date night is super important.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes you feel also like, you know, sometimes you've been with that person for so long that it feels more like a brother than a partner. It's like you don't date, you don't go anywhere. We have so many issues to solve, financial problems. So it's like there's no intimacy and that time to continue to get to know each other, because that has to be ongoing, right?
You have to be romantic. You have to be sensual in your relationship. You have to treat her like you did in the very beginning. You know, the only way to keep that spark ignited is by, you know, just being consistent with it. And yeah, like I said, you know, just think outside the box, you know, take her out somewhere different, compliment her, you know, like for me, I love to do date nights and get dressed up with my partner. And words of affirmations, me gusta chiviarla, you know, like, ay, mamacita, you know, and give her a little spin, little things like that, because it makes her feel attractive, you know, and when you can bring out those feelings and make her blush, like that reignites the fire. It's super important. You know, women love that. That's when you know that you're emotionally intelligent.
Yeah. And also there are just for like, for men, also for women, there are so many options out there. You always want to be top of the list. But because I see the comments women leave on his Instagram, you know, this guy, he's so perfect. He's this, he's that. And I love it. I want to ask you, what does a man of value want? What is a man of value looking for in a woman?
We don't ask for much. We really don't. We just want a peaceful woman who is submissive, who will understand what it is for us men to be leaders, someone who will allow us to lead. We just want peace. That's all we want. We really want peace. We want to come home to someone who is nurturing, someone who is soft, submissive, loving, someone who can raise a family. All the beauty and all the external stuff, it's going to fade eventually, but that's not going to raise me a family. You know? I just need someone who's going to keep me at peace, someone who's going to pray over me, and someone who is going to be faithful to me.
What does submissive mean to you?
People get triggered. People get triggered when they hear that word. Submissive means that you understand that you trust me enough. You trust me enough to understand that I got it.
Yeah.
You know, that I am going to take care of you and I'm going to lead this relationship to success. So if you trust me, that is being submissive. You're allowing me to be the man to take decisions because you know that the decisions that I'm going to make are going to benefit both of us.
Yeah. And how does it work when a man thinks this way and there comes a woman and you find a businesswoman, someone that also has dreams and aspirations? I always wonder this, and I finally have someone that I can ask this to. How are you still being able to serve the relationship as a woman while also building your dreams and your goals in life without feeling that you're taking away from that idea of the woman has to be at home and take care of the home and, and be submissive? And
Yeah. I think every relationship is different. I can't speak for every high value man, but I think for me, it's a partnership. At the end of the day, it's a kingdom. I'm the king, you're the queen, and we need both parties to be able to run a successful kingdom. It's very important to choose wisely. The partner that you're going to choose for the rest of your life is either going to be a reflection of your life. It's either going to be a good life or a bad life, But every single partner that I've had, after that 20-year relationship, when I started into personal development, has been hyperactive, masculine, business, boss babe. Like, that's all I attract. But I've had good relationships. I have nothing but good relationships. But for me, like, I want to build them up. Like, if you have dreams, like, I want to make sure that you reach your dreams. I want to support you.
See, that's a good way to do things. That is a good way. And the reason why I asked this is because I have heard other successful and men of value that say, no, the woman is meant to stay at home. She does not have to go to work. But the thing is that a lot of men don't understand that we women that do have dreams and big goals in life, it's within our soul. It's our calling to do other things outside of just the home, meaning that you still get to nurture and take care of the home, but you also have dreams, goals, aspirations that you have to take care of.
It's very important for a man to support the dreams that a woman has, because then what do you have at home? A robot? You get what I'm saying? Someone who doesn't have an opinion. I need someone with the brain as well, someone who is soft, submissive, and emotionally intelligent to understand what I need as a successful individual. But I want to tap into your potential. I want to know who you are. And if I'm trying to heal the world and take over the world in the name of Jesus, I need that partner to do the exact same thing, because you can inspire other women to be better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen up, guys. And this is one question, and I'm going to do this for you ladies, because I know you want to confirm what we already think is right. But where do you think the boundary is when it comes to social media? Social media, because, we say, listen, if you're in a relationship, I don't think it's great that you're liking other girls' pictures or like answering to flirty comments. Where should that, how should men approach that?
If you're in a committed relationship, as a man, I don't think you should be following any promiscuous women. I don't think you should be liking any photos, because now you're inviting other people into your relationship. Okay. Ooh. I don't think you should be entertaining and acting like you're single. Women, if you have a social media, if you're in a loving relationship that you value, I don't think you should be posting bikini pictures or pictures of your butt or anything like that that is promiscuous, because again, you're asking for attention. You can lie to yourself and lie to the public and say that you're doing it for yourself. Woman empowerment, I feel good, my body, and do as you please. But you're also inviting other people, especially other men, into your relationship. And if that man is, someone who sees a photo like that, now you're inviting those people to go into your DMs.
Yeah. But what if the woman is someone that is very much into fitness, like yourself?
There's a classy way to do it. I'm a fitness model. I used to post pictures in Calvin Klein because I used to work, in that line. So I don't post those anymore. I'll do a shirtless photo in jeans, but I'm not going to be posting underwear pictures or anything like that. Why? Because it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful.
There he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it all comes down to class. Have class. Like, if you want your man to respect you, give them that place. Same thing for your woman. If you want a king, treat your man like a king. He'll treat you like a queen.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Absolutely. Boundaries. Luis, what is one thing or a couple of things that you've had to do in order to become successful?
There's a lot of things that I had to do. I had to make sacrifices. I had to invest. Investing in yourself is never going to be a bad investment. That is the best investment that you can make. Invest into your personal development, invest into a new environment, get rid of all the toxic people, all the naysayers. Anybody who is bringing any type of negativity into your life, you have to get rid of that. That's an investment because you're investing in time. Invest your time wisely. You know, if you're around people, maybe a relationship that is not serving your future, then you're wasting your time. You know, investing into your body is huge for a man because it's a reflection of who you are. It also puts you in a top tier environment. So a man who has, you know, financial stability, he's got his body right, he's got the right mindset and everything, that then you become that 1%.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your program where you're leading men to be their best selves and doing something amazing for this world, because we need more masculine men.
Absolutely. So I've got 3 different tiers. There's an introductory tier. I made that's the affordable program. That's only $49. It's a subscription. That's for like people that just want something. It's like a do-it-yourself, but you get all the tools to be successful. Then I have a mid-tier, which is a one-on-one coaching with me. This is, you know, the one that most people usually come into. Then there's a business elite coaching. That's for business, right? But usually men who are either going through a breakup, a divorce, they're out of shape, they're just losing in life, they want to make a change, they'll do the mid-tier, right? That's one-on-one coaching.
And how much is roughly that one?
It varies, but it's not that expensive, to be honest with you. If you can invest $10 a day, like you're set. So I've got different programs, but you can always just contact me on Instagram and we can talk about prices. But when it comes to the one-on-one coaching, it's really interesting because most of the men come to me to get a six-pack, but when they leave, they become better fathers. They're in alignment with who God is calling them to be. They're better business owners. Some of them even start businesses, and they're better husbands. You know, they're that superhero dad that I always created the program.
Why is that?
Because they're in alignment. You have to understand everything in life is alignment to what your, conscious calling is calling you to do. You have to drop the vices. You have to, if you're someone who's cheating, someone who's drinking, someone who's smoking, now you're altering who your persona is. You cannot, be in alignment to God if you're resorting to any of that. I recently stopped smoking, drinking, and I wasn't someone who was constantly drinking all the time, but I understood that I was at my max potential for this chapter until I give up all those vices, because God is calling me to do something. Your conscious calling, that is the authentic voice of God. And if you're altering your state of mind, your persona, you can't get a clear message from up above. But most guys do come into my program to get a six-pack and they become the best version of themselves.
That's amazing.
Then after that, what happens is they'll get the six-pack, then they come back and they're like, people are asking me for coaching, like, can you teach me how to build a business? So I teach them how to build a business.
Yeah, and you started the coaching business a while back, right? How many years since you fully started coaching?
So I haven't had a job in, I think the last job that I had was 2019. So I've been an entrepreneur since,
Nice.
And it's been a crazy road. But I've been in business for roughly about, I would say maybe 12 years. 12 years. This is the coaching. Yeah. And I did the business coaching. I've been doing that for maybe 3 years now.
Yeah. So you started right before this little wave, this coaching wave. Mm-hmm. So coaching is amazing because you learn whatever it is that you need to learn in a shorter amount than if you had to figure it out on your own. So it's definitely value.
It is a crazy. If you really want to strengthen your faith with God, jump into entrepreneurship.
Yes. Yes. And where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram is going to be the top of the list, at Luis Montoya Fit. I do have a couple of different accounts. There's the Luis Montoya Show. But just contact me at Luis Montoya Fit on Instagram. Facebook, it's going to be Luis Montoya. I do have a website, which is luismontoyafit.com.
Perfect, Luis. So yes, guys, if you want to find yourself and you feel a little lost today, whether you're a man or a woman, he can help you guys. And definitely, I agree on the fact that there's nothing without God. And my life also changed because I met him and I was able to really start a relationship. And it's something that when you explain it and people don't know a lot about, they're like, I know, there's this again, yeah? But in reality, we're not perfect. And that is the other thing. A lot of people say, hey, but why would you like a guy that has tattoos if you're a Christian? And I'm like, what? We're not perfect. We just have that relationship with the Lord. You have a little more compassion and you have a father, a friend that really is there by your side whenever you need them and even when you don't. So thank you so much for being here, Luis. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for watching or listening to another episode of Successful Quitters. I am Sara Nunez Bee, your host, and I will see you on the next one.